Hello, BookTube. I set foot outside my house today, and so I have a pile of books to show you. I set foot outside Hyde Cottage, went out. It's an overcast, very clammy day, and I went out, and in no time at all, I had a pile of books. As a side note, to those of you who have been persistently asking, I am still using the leather shoulder bag, and it is still working just fine. I have yet to encounter a mass of books, whether it's at a thrift shop or a charity shop or the Brattle Bookshop. I have yet to encounter a mass of books that doesn't fit in that bag. It has a little side pocket, a zippered side pocket, where I have a folded tote bag. I haven't had to use it. The thing is just amazing. Just amazing. So I thought I'd go through this pile of books with you and see what we got here. The first one is very well known. It's very well known on this channel. I've recommended it a million times. But I didn't realize until today that I didn't have a mass market paperback of it. So I grabbed it. It is The Killer Angels by Michael Shara. This is his historical novel about the Battle of Gettysburg, and it is amazingly good. So it sprang to my eye for BookTube at War. There's a BookTube event going on in July that I have been eagerly participating in, BookTube at War, literature about wars, fiction or nonfiction. This is right up that alley. I don't know if I can justify reading it again. I've read it so many times. But it's not the only BookTube at War item here. Then I got this little thing, an old science fiction paperback, The Wind from the Sun, Arthur C. Clarke. This is short stories that he wrote during the 1960s in an old, Signet, an old Signet paperback. Not that big a fan of Arthur C. Clarke, but this is free, so I'll grab it when I see it. Some of these stories I'm sure I haven't read. A lot of them, probably most of them, I don't know that well. Anyway, even if I have read them. So I grabbed it. Then this next one, also the same thing. This is a book that I have praised on this channel many, many, many times. It is one of the greatest works of nonfiction produced in the 20th century. And this is a lovely Harcourt trade paperback of A Room of One's Own by Virginia Woolf. A transcription of a lecture that she gave about her contention that in order to write, a woman needs a small income and a room of her own. She needs privacy and financial independence, which is not what her audience had assembled to hear when they asked her to write about women and fiction. They were expecting platitudes. Get in touch with your muse. Have an unconquerable spirit. All that sort of thing. And here, instead, she gives a very different kind of meditation on women as they have appeared in literature and how women can do literature. I love it. I have an ebook copy of it, of course, and I have other versions of it. I think I have an old Harcourt did a lovely hardcover of this thing, thin little hardcover, that I think I still have somewhere. But I don't think I have a paperback of this now that I do. Then we have some stuff for the gays. Got to have stuff for the gays, and I went where the books went. I didn't go picking any of these things. I went and picked the most likely things from a gigantic mess of books. I found 3 books for the gays. One is from the old Plume edition. Some of you who are of a certain age will remember the old Plume paperbacks. This is Ethan Morton. I have a feeling we're not in Kansas anymore. A lot of the Plume paperbacks had this insignia there, this colophon. But a lot of them had this kind of washed out cover photo, a photo, but washed into a kind of fake sepia tone. This was gay fiction that ended up being the first book in Ethan Morton's Buddies series. I think a gay in 2023 reading this now would find it incredibly dated and maybe a little bit bizarre, a little bit weird, because it describes a gay world that in many ways doesn't exist anymore. I haven't read this since this came out in the 80s. I'm sure that I haven't read this since the 80s. When did this come out? I want to say 1985. 1985. So I grabbed it, of course. Then I found Christopher Bram's novel Hold Tight, which I have shown on this channel many times. I've had many copies of it, but always the trade paperback. The trade paperback has a rather memorable cover. I found the hardcover today. His novel the hardcover's cover is decidedly less enthusiastic. The paperback is doesn't look like this, but this is a historical novel. It's actually set against the backdrop of World War II, so it would fit for Booktube of War. I suppose it would. And then finally, this is Doug Guinan. Was this your first book? I don't know if this was your first book. I think it was. This is Doug Guinan's book, California Screaming. And you can't tell on this video, but those abs are embossed. And this is a story of this is from I think the early 1990s. Let's take a look and see. No, in the late 1990s, 1998. This is a story of a small group, three main characters, gay men in Hollywood. When if you have a reputation of a certain size, you absolutely can't have it be known that you're gay, but because you have a reputation of a certain size, you also have the megalomania to go with it, so you don't want the slightest desire impeded in any way. It's up-and-coming actors, one in particular who's drop-dead gorgeous and wants to make it big. Can he do it by sleeping his way to the top, and does he want to? And there are lots of side characters in here, including one that is very much drawn from life, very much, in every way, including surprisingly sensitive ways. And I haven't read this since it first came out, so I'm very happy to have it again, very happy to find the hardcover. That's all for the gays. You don't want to give them too much. Then I found this lovely trade paperback. This is Nightshade Books with cover art by Raymond Swanland. This is A Cruel Wind, the main three books of a trilogy by Glenn Cook, who's most famous for The Black Company, which, what was it again? Nightshade Books also reissued The Black Company in a couple of volumes that were like this and that had the same cover artist. Beautiful things that I've seen them once upon a time. I don't have them now. They are so nice to have, those big trades. But I found this big thing. I don't think I've ever had this. I read the Cruel Wind, the Dread Empire books when they were coming out. Or maybe not initially when they were coming out, but I read them in mass market paperbacks, dumb, dorky mass market paperbacks. And when would that have been? As long as we're checking. 79, 80, and 80. So I don't remember quite what those paperbacks look like, but I haven't read this again in a long time, and I really like this author. I'm assuming that almost all of these authors are dead. Is Glenn Cook dead? Not Guinan, unless he died of AIDS, then he's still alive. But this author, for instance, Donald Hickey, I'm assuming that he's dead. But I found a beautiful copy, a hardcover copy with a plastic dust jacket of his book on the War of 1812. Once upon a time, the definitive popular history of the War of 1812. There's been a better one now by a historian named Daughan, Daughan. But this is still fantastic. And I've had it many, many times. I usually see the trade paperback. Not a big thing, but really, really good to read. A really good version. So it worked just fine for Booktube of War. Same thing with this next one. This next one is much newer than all the others. I know that the author is still alive because I see him as a talking head on MSNBC all the time. This is from 2018. This is Michael Beslosh. This is his book, Presidents of War. And as you can tell from the old-timey illustration on the cover, this looks at, I think, 7 or 8 U.S. presidents who have been wartime presidents. At the beginning of this book, Beslosh says that statistically speaking, a U.S. president will lead the country into war about once every generation. He centers on a group of presidents who led the country into war, and one, Thomas Jefferson, who he claims refused to. I read this when it came out. I don't know if I reviewed it, and if I reviewed it, I don't remember who I reviewed it for, but I read it, and I thought it was meaty. I don't have any objections to this author's historical work, so time to read it again, definitely. A little bit of a weird subject when it comes to, for instance, the current presidential moment in the United States, but I seem to remember liking this quite a bit, so it was free, so I naturally grabbed it in perfect condition. And then the last thing that we'll do here, because this doesn't have to be a forever book haul, this was heavy enough, believe me, these things were heavy enough. This is an old National Geographic hardcover. I've praised these things many times on this channel. I absolutely love them. They don't make them anymore, but once upon a time, there was a discrete collection, about a bookcase worth, of old National Geographic hardcovers that had themed articles and original artwork and maps and contemporary photos from the historical locations. They did one for ancient Rome and Greece. They did one for England. They did one for the Age of Shakespeare, which I don't have. That's one I would very much like. But I found one today that I didn't have, the Age of Chivalry. And let me give you an example. See, these are what I'm talking about. That's the whole series here. And I have the 2 volumes of American Wildlife. I, of course, have the dog one. What is the Shakespeare one called? I have the 2-volume one on birds. I don't have Great Adventures. I don't have, there's one on Bible times. I don't have that. That would be fascinating. This one doesn't show me Shakespeare, but I know that there is one. Well, anyway, let me show you an example of what I'm talking about here. This will give you maps and black and white illustrations, also full color illustrations. See, contemporary pictures from the historical locations. Always lots of fun. But these old books also have original National Geographic artwork. There are the Visigoths sacking Rome. It's just showing up with their legs 5 feet apart. I love these things. Dorky as they are, I love them. I especially love the ones that have the original artwork. That used to be a staple of National Geographic. It really isn't anymore. This thing also, oh, look at that. Oh, look at this. This has the Bayeux Tapestry. You can just unfold. You can unfold the whole thing. Fantastic. Okay, well, whether it's at the Brattle or today where I'm just harvesting free books, one of the goals is always to get a keeper, or a lot of keepers. A book that I'm not going to just read and cycle through and get rid of. And this one I know. This one is going into the little book room. I don't know how many of the rest of these are, but this one is, definitely. So that was my, I stepped outside. It was just a random book haul. We have The Age of Chivalry from National Geographic Books. We have Presidents of War by Michael Beschloss. Let's see what we can do here. We have The War of 1812 by Donald Hickey, and a nice hardcover. Very nice, with a library covering on it. We have A Cruel Wind by Glenn Cook, in case I have an itch for epic fantasy. We have California Screamin' with embossed abs. We have Hold Tight by Christopher Bram in a hardcover. I don't usually see it that way. We have I Have a Feeling We're Not in Kansas Anymore by Ethan Morton. Don't think that's ever been reprinted. We have a tasteful, stylish trade paperback of A Room of One's Own. We have The Wind from the Sun by Arthur C. Clarke, 1960s short stories. And The Killer Angels by Michael Shara. And The Bean, making an appearance there at the end. As just a totally random, completely no reason mail haul, a book haul rather than just, I left the house. I walked outside, and so I accumulated books. But anyway, that's the book haul for today. I will wrap this up for now. I will see you soon. Thank you, BookTube.